Hi guys, this is Leela. Welcome to my channel Leela WebDev. In this video, we will try to test the HTTP request using the HTTP client testing module, and also what we need to do it. What we will try to do it is, so we will try to deal the HTTP request with the promise thing. So let's try to understand. Let's try to do with a simple example. So for this one, what I want to tell you is the concept which I was trying to cover out in this video is. So the first one is the setting up the test bed for the HTTP testing. So normally when you want to try to HTTP testing, so you need to set up the test bed for the HTTP testing. So you need to configure the Angular testing module, that is nothing but the test bed. So this is the Angular testing module test bed to include the necessary services and testing utilities like the HTTP testing controller. So this is also one of the important one which we need to utilities. We need to use it for making for testing the HTTP request. Next, what we need to do, the second step what we need to do is the mocking the HTTP request. Use HTTP testing controller to intercept and mock the HTTP request, ensuring the test environment doesn't rely on actual server responses. And the last one is the validating the request. So the last one comes not the last one. So here next one is the validate. You can validate that the expected requests are made. Example, matching URLs or the HTTP method. I will try to show you. These all things also we have covered in our previous video. So I am explaining you elaborately. Flushing the mocking response. Provide the mock responses to intercept to the intercepted request. So now after the test is completely completed, now here you need to, after the test, ensure no unexpected HTTP requests are made using the verify. So let's try to create this one. For this one, what I will try to do is the same thing. So I will try to take another service, that is nothing but the config service. So here I will create nggs in the services. Okay, I will create the config service. So I am creating it like this, config service. Just it says something. We are creating a config service that fetches the configuration data via HTTP, and we will test this service using the HTTP client testing module using the test bed to mock the HTTP request. So just we will try to create it. For this one, I am using the ng generate service command. So now service implementation. We'll try to see about the service implementation. Let it complete. So here when I type this command nggs, so we are able to create two files has been created, config service.service.ts and config service.service.spec.ts file. Okay, so fine, let's go to the config service.service.ts file. So this is our config service. So let's keep it like this. Morely we are focused on the testing rather than the file name. So I don't want to interfere more into this one. So interface config. So this is the interface. So which you will be having API URL of type string. So this is the data which you will be getting from the HTTP request. Let's assume. So version. So this is the data which we will be getting. So now here in this constructor or something like that, so you can inject the HTTP. So you can also use the inject method also. So just I am trying to use in a different way, not in different way. I am using the second alternative. So we have used long time back, right? So I am having a method get config. And this one receives a T. Okay, I will use the T instead of having a particular thing. And this one accepts observable of T. This receives an observable of T. Generic thing I am using. And return this dot HTTP dot. And here I will use HTTP dot get off. And this returns the T. Okay, and here I will use /API/config. So just a simple example. So I don't want to go deeper into this one. So this is our simple config service. Now we need to write the test case scenario for this one. So let's try to set up the test service for this one. So here this is our test service. So if you want, we can also remove this one entire thing. So we'll write it one by one. And here I will be using the describe test suite describe, and here I will be writing config service, and here you will be having a method. Okay, and in this one we need to write the code. So first one, let's try to get initialize the variables config service, which is of type config service, and the another one is HTTP config we need to get. So let HTTP config, I will use the config something like this, HTTP testing controller. So here we got it. Now let's say that we create default config. Okay, default default, I will use the default config of type config. So we have this one, right, is equal to, and I will be having an API URL, so which is of type HTTP API. So I will try to copy and paste it so that you can able to understand it. So here I have pasted it. Yeah, this is the default config. I will use it. So now let's implement the before each. Okay, before each means at the starting you will be able to execute, at the starting of the execution of the test suite, not for every test case. Before all means for every test case it will execute. So now we need to configure the module. So testbed dot configure testing module, and here in this one, so you will be having the providers. So let's use the providers, and in this one, so you will be having the config service. Okay, and this config service you need to provide the HTTP client, and also here you need to provide HTTP testing client also. That's it. So this one should be in brackets, not like this, brackets, and this one also in the brackets. We are calling the method. Yeah, fine. So now let's include the service. So here you will be having a service. So there is nothing but the config service. So here I have used this config service, right? Let's try to have it as a service only, and HTTP testing. So this one is HTTP testing, not config. We'll use the HTTP testing. Okay, fine. So let's try to config service. Okay, so now let's inject the testing service. So here in the before each only, so what I will try to do here, service is equal to testbed dot inject of config service. So we need to inject the config service, and here we will be having HTTP testing is equal to testbed dot inject of HTTP testing controller. Fine. So both are finished. So now here we need to have another scenario, that is nothing but after each. So whenever the test case is completed, so here, okay, so after each means after each test case, I think so, I didn't remember exactly. So HTTP testing dot verify. So we will use this verify. Fine, done. Now we need to write the test cases one by one. So first what I will try to do, first I will write the test case scenario. So before writing the test case scenario, so let me try to explain you one by one here. So whenever you are trying to test the scenario, so config.service.ts, so here first you need to get the instance of this service. So whatever the file or the component you are trying to get it, so you need to get the config service. In the component you will get it as a component fixture, and you will get the instance from the component fixture, and the template also you will get it from the component fixture only. Here we are having a service which should be injected, so we are injecting here, and the HTTP testing controller, this is also one of the important thing for making a mock request, and this is a default config variable which I have injected it. So this one is the thing, all the dependencies and all those things. So here if you provide this HTTP client means the config service is dependent on this HTTP client. Why? Because if you try to see here, we are injecting the HTTP client, and this injection of this HTTP client is provided by this provide HTTP client, so that the test bed will take care of injecting those all the dependencies and all those things for the config service. So this is how you will be setting up the HTTP testing controller. In the next video what we will try to do is, we will try to write the test cases for this one, the failed case and also the success case, and we will try to get it using the promise based HTTP request. We will try to do it. Hope you understood about this concept. If you have any doubts or any suggestions, please post the comments below to this video. And if you like this video, please do support me by subscribing to my channel. Thank you.